Now at 4, could we soon have a governor? Where the process is now in the North Carolina race as Mecklenburg County finishes up the canvass.
Plus, the rain finally returns, what it means for drought conditions and the wildfires out in western North Carolina. And a man killed by a police officer, but as it turns out, he's had trouble with the law before. We're digging up new information on what happened. But first, we all following breaking news about that massive wildfire over in Tennessee. At the moment, more than 250 structures have been burned outside the popular Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge areas. At least 14,000 people have been told to leave their homes, and more than 400 firefighters are on the ground fighting this fire. This is a rapidly developing story, and details have been coming in all day. Let's get right out to NBC Charlotte's Fred Shropshire, who's standing by live at the breaking news desk. And Fred, first things first, has anyone been hurt?
Yeah, good evening there, Rachel. Yeah, we do know at least 12 people have gone to the hospital, but the good news, no one has been killed. Still, this is a serious situation that could change very soon. At any moment now, we expect to hear from the Governor Bill Haslam, who's holding a news conference. Gatlinburg officials now calling this a fire for the history books. This is video from one man who had to drive through the fire to escape with his family. Hundreds of families were ordered to leave their homes and hotels overnight. Right now, the areas of Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge are both under mandatory evacuation orders.
My personal pictures, that stuff can't be replaced. So my mom's, she's been gone for 16 years, just can't be replaced.
What do you mean?
Want to show you some video now. You're looking at video of a hotel employee. He took this video, the fire right outside of the main window. City officials say the fire got worse overnight when a windstorm moved in, spreading the fire even farther.
And nothing that we've experienced in the 24 hours has prepared us for what we've experienced here in the last 24 hours. It's been just unbelievable what we've experienced here.
Fire officials in Tennessee say they think this is a case of arson. This part of the state has been the same in the drought conditions that we've seen. So they're just begging for some rain to help slow things down. The good news, the forecast there shows there will be, they might be getting some rain either today or tomorrow. Of course, we're going to stay on top of this and all the developments coming into our newsroom. But for now, I'm Fred Shropshire, NBC Charlotte. Back to you, Bill.
Fred, thanks. Turning now to the forecast, Fred alluded to it, some rain coming through the western North Carolina, Tennessee area. We've finally gotten some here in the Charlotte area. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich joins us now. Brad, this is good news, but we still need a lot more, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And that firestorm over in Gatlinburg started in the Smoky Mountain National Park last Wednesday. The cause of that fire still is yet to be determined. That was in the Chimneys area last Wednesday. Those 70 to 60 and sometimes 80-mile-an-hour winds spread the fire rapidly through parts of Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. On top of that, those strong winds last night brought down trees and power lines, which caused additional fires to develop across the area. So you saw this fire spread from inside the national park all the way through Gatlinburg and almost to Pigeon Forge before eventually it slowed down. Now, we did see some rain today and in that area. 2 batches of rain came through the Gatlinburg area. The concern is this first batch of rain moving out of the area wasn't nearly enough, but we are still seeing some pockets of moderate and even heavy rain in parts of Anson County, out in Richmond County. Back to the southwest, there's another wave of storms developing, but unfortunately, this is severe weather that's heading our way. That's going to cause some issues maybe tomorrow. We'll track that coming up in a few minutes. For more on what's going on outside right now, if the rain moves out of the area, let's go to meteorologist Sarah Fortner. She's in Storm Tracker checking on those roads. Sarah?
Yeah, you know, Brad, we're good so far as rain goes. You just talked about how the rain is gone, but what's left behind? Well, not many puddles, but I've got to show you one of our main concerns: leaves and storm drains. We are getting another round of rain here in the next 24 hours, and with these leaves clogging storm drains, that could lead to a flooding situation, or at least localized flooding in your neighborhood. You also need to drive really safely because these leaves can be really slippery once you get on them. Your wheels may spin a little bit underneath the leaves. Now, we're going to have another hit coming up here from the Storm Tracker. We're going to send things back to you, though, as we continue to monitor the situation. Back to you.
Sarah, thanks. And remember, everybody, you can always track the changing weather conditions right in your neighborhood. Just download the NBC Charlotte Weathercaster app. It's free, and you can find it always in your app store. Well, officials over in Tennessee are giving a live press conference right now on the evacuation orders and the status of the fire. So let's listen in.
Last night, because of the speed of the fire and how quickly it spread, and our emergency responders tried to get into those areas, but because of trees down, because of electrical lines down, they were not able to. So we're now trying, going house by house in the cities and counties into those areas to make sure that that everyone that is out and that there are no more losses. So that effort is continuing as we speak. As I said, we're focused on clearing roads throughout the day and so that they can have access to these homes and check anybody in distress. We're deeply burdened by the thought of additional loss, but we're going to make every effort to access all the homes that we can. Progress is slow.
All right, you've been listening to a live update on the wildfires over in neighboring Tennessee. We'll keep listening to that press conference over in the newsroom. We'll have more updates for you coming up in our later shows.
Pat McCrory's hope of serving a second term as governor now rests with Durham County as Mecklenburg County finishes its canvass. And we could know the final result in the race for governor in the next week or so. NBC Charlotte's Brad Berkey is in Uptown with more. And as he reports, we could actually know who won the race very soon.
Yes, we may soon know who in fact did win, and even some Republican Party officials now appear to see the handwriting on the wall. Dallas Woodhouse is the executive director of the GOP in North Carolina. He admits the governor's race could be decided in the next few days.
What we've seen from Barber, the NAACP, and others is just utter demagoguery that you know, they're for counting the votes until they're ahead, and then they don't want to finish the process and count the vote.
If you're going to challenge the voting process, then come with facts. You know, just don't say, well, we're going to see what happens. And that's what the people are getting, and that's what the people are getting from the McCrory campaign, and they're fed up.
Incumbent Pat McCrory is hoping a recount of votes that has been requested for Durham County will prove there were irregularities in the way the votes there were tabulated. On election night, McCrory had been leading Democrat Roy Cooper up until some 90,000 early votes suddenly came in from Durham County. The State Board of Elections has rejected all other Republican claims of voting irregularities in some 50-plus counties. The State Board of Elections will meet tomorrow afternoon in Raleigh to decide if there will be a recount in Durham County, and we will be there to bring you the story. In Uptown, Brad Berkey, NBC Charlotte.
Friends and family of a Hickory man that was shot and killed by police are demanding justice, saying the man was unarmed and the shooting unjustified. Now, the shooting happened yesterday while deputies were doing drug surveillance at a home in Catawba County. NBC Charlotte's Tanya Mendez has been talking to people who knew this man and are learning more about what happened. Hi, Tanya.
Hi, we spoke to friends today who say that the man who was shot was a husband, a father, and a good guy. Not a saint, but not a violent person either, and definitely didn't deserve to be shot. And we found out today this isn't the first time he's been shot by police.
He was a good guy, nonviolent guy.
Keisha Collins still trying to make sense of what happened Monday afternoon. Her longtime friend Ray Valentine had a wife, children, grandchildren, but he also has a long history of drug charges. Monday afternoon, narcotics investigators from Catawba County were watching the area near this house when they came in contact with Valentine.
They said he rammed into a police car, but even if that's the case, it didn't justify being shot.
Medics rushed him to the hospital, where he died.
It was heartbreaking to see his daughter at the hospital last night. She had a paper out, and she was like, not realizing that her father is no longer here with her. She was asking, you know, can you all just write something nice for my daddy so my daddy can read it? So that's a lot for a child.
Collins says this shooting is like a horrible case of deja vu.
You know, the second time he's been shot by the police.
5 years ago, almost to the day,
he was shot about 7 or 8 times by the Hickory PD.
Similar story then. The officer shot Valentine when he took off during a traffic stop. Investigators say he was unarmed during that shooting. Collins believes he was unarmed during this one.
The police are going to make him look like the bad guy, but they didn't have answers for the first shooting. They don't have justification for this shooting, but something needs to be done.
The SBI is now taking over the investigation in this case. We're outside of their offices in Hickory right now, waiting for any updates. As soon as we get them, we will bring them to you. Tonight at 5, you will hear from the man who lived in the house and heard those shots ring out when that shooting took place yesterday afternoon. Again, that's coming up tonight on NBC Charlotte at 5. Reporting live, I'm Tanya Mendes, NBC Charlotte.
Thank you, Tanya.
Jury selection in the federal trial of accused Charleston church shooter Dylan Roof is moving quickly, with 10 more potential jurors qualified. This after a judge reluctantly granted permission for Dylan Roof to represent himself in his federal trial. The survivors and victims' family members say they forgive Roof. Some even say they do not believe in the death penalty in this case. They may have to testify during the trial. The Burke County man accused of joining ISIS and plotting to kill 1,000 people has pleaded guilty. 20-year-old Justin Sullivan admitted to killing his neighbor and plotting the attack in the name of the Islamic State. He was just 19 when federal agents charged him. An indictment from Audit reveals Sullivan was communicating with who he thought was an ISIS recruiter, but it was actually a federal agent. Sullivan could now be in prison for the rest of his life. Today, the former South Carolina cop accused of murdering an unarmed black man in North Charleston took the stand. Michael Slager is accused of shooting and killing Walter Scott after a traffic stop on April 4th of 2014. Slager says Scott took his taser and charged at him. Video from the scene shows a taser on the ground when Slager fired his weapon, but he says at that moment his mind was like spaghetti.
It was total fear that Mr. Scott didn't stop. Continue to come towards me.
Did he ever give you any indication of compliance or surrender?
No, not at all.
Slager faces 30 years to life if convicted.
At least 6 people have reported to survive that plane crash in South America that killed more than 70 people. The plane was carrying members of a Brazilian soccer team and journalists when it crashed somewhere in Colombia. NBC's Chris Pallone has the story.
Aviation authorities say the plane lost radar contact after declaring an emergency just before 10 Monday night. The pilots reportedly radioed in that they were experiencing an electrical failure. On board the chartered aircraft, the up-and-coming Chapecoense soccer team from southern Brazil. The team was traveling to Colombia for the first leg of a 2-game Copa Sudamericana final, the continent's second most important championship. But what was supposed to be a celebration amid their fairy tale rise this season quickly turned into a tragedy. Rescuers worked through the night and throughout the day today, scouring the wreckage at the crash site. 7 passengers were rescued alive, but one of them died at the hospital, bringing the total number of survivors to 6. Expressions of grief are pouring in from all over the soccer world. South America's federation canceled all scheduled matches in a show of solidarity, and the Colombian club, who would have been Chapecoense's opponents in the Copa Sudamerica final, have asked the South American Football Confederation to award the Brazilian team the title. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
Coming up, we've got new information this afternoon in that attack at Ohio State, the 911 calls that were made during the chaos, plus why authorities are not ruling out terrorism here.
And kicked off forever, why Delta is apologizing after one of its passengers went on a political rant.
And Cuba paying homage to their former leader, how they plan to honor Fidel Castro while others are demoralizing the former Cuban leader.